Going back to Woodstock, and we can do an even deeper dive on Woodstock. The one thing that kind of is weird to me is the fact that we even need a 2-hour documentary to comb through all the reasons and unforeseen circumstances and mitigating factors that could try to explain why it turned into a fucking Lord of the Flies riot where there's fires, looting, sexual assault all over the place, and also why none of these people appear to have been severely punished for these actions, save for I believe 4 convictions on 8 trials for sexual assault and 44 or so arrests.
They got away with it for the same reason the people at the Capitol did.
Thank you. Not only they get away with it for that, but like, why the fact that we're even digging through this now, like it seems as if the documentary and the way that we talk about this thing is surely these were good white folk. And the only reason
white skin privilege,
what it turned
a term
into,
that emerged from the Weather Underground, by the way, is white skin privilege.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's for the same reason that their level of violence and anarchy always comes from a good place. That's why when Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves and Clint Eastwood and Vin Diesel murder everybody in movies from beginning to end, it's always okay because they always have the right to behave violently because their cause is always the right cause. They're always on the side of God, and everybody else are just inherently violent and savage. It's just the narrative that they've been given. So even though Woodstock was literally on fire, they weren't looked at as savages. They were just looked at as a bunch of immature, young, drunk guys who are taking things too far. They're still inherently good.
Right.
They still inherently get the benefit of the doubt. And so even though there's women getting raped and equipment being turned over and a quarter of a mile of the field on fire, we're still going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And that benefit of the doubt lies in nothing else other than the fact they're white. And we've seen that demonstrated a million times. It's the same thing with the Brock Turner case, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't talk about what a sexual assaulting lunatic he is. They want to talk about how he's got a career as a swimmer.
A Stanford swimmer.
Now, I don't know any woman who cares more about whether or not you can swim. If I had to choose between you being a professional swimmer or a rapist, I mean, I'm probably going to say I would prefer that you're not a rapist if I have to choose one.
I'll take not a rapist for 400.
Thank you.
Bro.
But all you ever hear about is when it comes to white boys, all you ever hear about is the potential of what they could become. But when you're talking about brown and black boys, all you hear about is what savages they've been. So no matter what happens to somebody black, they're going to bring up their drug addiction. They owe child support. They haven't talked to their mama in 10 years. They haven't gone to church in 5 years. But when it comes to white boy crimes and white boy savagery, there's always an excuse. There's always a reason. Like they blamed Fred Durst for the crowd getting crazy. Well, first of all, the crowd was getting crazy before he came out on stage. Second of all, Fred Durst is not a magician, right? Like he doesn't wave some magic wand or pour out some potion on the crowd that made them lose their fucking minds. They lost their minds before they got there. It was just demonstrated there. Why? Because there was no law enforcement, there was no water, and there was no food. What do you expect people to do?
Interesting. And the fact that there was no law enforcement kind of, proves the fact that
right. They were given the benefit of the doubt.
These were all just nice white guys. And so we don't need to have more than just some bunk regular security. We don't need to have law enforcement as well here. And the assumption, but that's the thing. Like, okay, so we need a 2-hour documentary to figure out all the reasons why these white boys turned into fucking savages. It couldn't possibly be
because they're savages.
That this is who they are when you let the leash off. When there's no cops, they don't have their parents and nothing, no other authority.
This is who they are without authority around. This is who they truly are.
It couldn't be the case that this is who they are. No.
Right.
There were all these mitigating factors. And I get, no water, shit and piss everywhere. I get
I mean, I get being upset about those things. Everybody was upset about those things that should have been there. But that has nothing to do with sexually assaulting women. These are your children. Why are they raping women? And in the documentary, one of the gentlemen said, I was disappointed in the women walking around topless or naked because it was like, what do you expect kind of thing. Well, what I
Yeah.
expect is for you guys to have taught your children that even if she's naked doing cartwheels with firecrackers coming out of her ass, that doesn't give you the right to rape her. What's the connection? She's naked, you're a rapist. Guess what? There were naked guys there too. How come the men didn't rape them? Or did they and we just didn't hear about it? But they weren't raped by women. So why is it that women are always expected to have some level of self-control that men are never held accountable for or to?
And why
How
is
about
it that
teach your
we
children, hey son, don't rape women no matter what they're doing? The end. Conversation over. Am I missing something? No matter what they're doing, you're not allowed to rape them.
how's that for a ground rule? How about that?
Let's start with the basics. No matter what a woman's doing, and no matter what condition she's in, and no matter what she's wearing, you're not allowed to rape women. There's no like fine print on that. There's no disclaimer. You're not supposed to rape the women. That makes you a savage.
Mhm. Don't care how hot it is. Oh, you
I don't
had to
care
pay
how
$4
hot,
for water.
drunk, mental break, whatever it is, there is no excuse for raping a woman. I can understand you killing somebody. I don't have to agree with it. And I don't have to approve it, but at least I can understand it. Raping a woman, there's never going to be something where it's like, yo, T, let me explain to you what happened was. Like, no. If you're so stupid that you didn't get the message that she didn't want to, you're either an idiot or a psychopath. Either way, you can't be in my camp. I can't fuck with you. But we shouldn't be putting this on women. Like a woman is undressed, so men are supposed to rape them. I mean, what's the argument in support of, well, she was naked? Well, okay. Why does that mean that your son should go over there and assault her? What's the connection?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that because men have penises, they're not held to any type of human standards, let alone levels of self-control?
That appears to be the case. They're making all of these explanations for why these girls got raped, why they got sexually assaulted, why when they're just walking around topless, which people do at every fucking music festival.
And which people do in other
groped.
countries. Right. And then they do this in other countries. So it is normal in some cultures to be topless at the beach in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And people have self-control. So why is it that men are not expected to not rape women 100% of the time? Like why is there flexibility in that?
Yeah.
Is there any flexibility in stealing? Like, hey son, don't steal unless your grandmother's not home, or you have a drug addiction, or if you just really want something and we didn't give you the money for it. Like, we don't make the only time we seem to have gray areas in our moral compass is when it comes to two things: rape and murder. Yeah, we always told don't kill anybody, but there's a big difference between murdering someone and killing them. And that's why there's different types of killing in law, right? There's murder 1, murder 2, involuntary manslaughter. Like there's different laws because there's different types of killings, some of which we have given leniency for. If you're a soldier and you kill people, we seem to be pretty lenient about that. I just can't kill you breaking into my house, but I can shoot you in your own country if I go over there and I'm wearing this uniform.
I would love to do a deep dive on that one day as well. Just like the difference between soldier, terrorist, bad guy.
Right.
If you don't have a uniform, you're all a bunch of terrorists or whatever. But if you do have a uniform, now the violence is sanctioned by the state. So it's okay, even if the state is sending you out to harm your own people.
Well, it's the age-old question, right? What's a just war? I mean, this is something that philosophers have been discussing, I think, since the 14th century. And it comes down to, understanding what are rules of war. And honestly, should there be any? I mean, it's war, right?
That's a whole, yeah.
Doesn't that implicitly mean that you're just supposed to win at any means necessary? So, I mean, if we're going to start clutching our pearls in the middle of war, I mean, I don't know if that's beneficial to the ultimate goal of winning.
Mm-hmm. And the question could be asked, like, okay, if you could win the war and end it sooner, which means less people dying overall, what measures are okay with that? Is it okay to drop an atomic bomb if that means it's going to end the war and net fewer people are going to die? Like, yeah, let's do a whole deep dive on that.